We're driving a 2022 Toyota Highlander Bronze Edition. Coming up, we're going to underwhelm you with Evie's favorite feature. But first, information explosion. The Toyota Highlander is a mid-size, 3-row SUV. What better place to begin than interior? What do you think of the interior of this thing?
Do you like neutrals that are also somehow really loud? Then you'll love these seats.
Loud neutrals.
The pattern is really loud. Gray and tan, do they go together? I don't know.
I am not a fashion guy, as you've already determined, but it's just a little bit more functional.
But do you like storage?
I mean, we've got all sorts of little handy storage slots. They've done a really good job of utilizing the previously unexploited dash space here. Oh, and in record fashion, I normally save the tease for later, but get ready to be underwhelmed, sweetie. Tell them what your favorite feature is.
Do you hate having a wire dangling across the dash area? Well, then you'll love how you can plug in your phone and then tuck the wire through this hole and plug it in. I don't know. I like it.
Do you like rhetorical questions? Because you've already had 3 of them so far. I think the overall vibe here is that the more you live with it, the more you're gonna be like, yeah, there's a place for all my stuff. The Toyota Highlander either comes with 8 seats or in some of the higher trims, 7 seats. I always talk about how Toyota and Lexus seats are among the most comfortable in the automotive biz. I will note that these are not uncomfortable seats, but they are a little bit more pressure pointy than other Toyota seats I've experienced. And the piping is catching me in the upper back region. Let's talk about space. So in the second row, I fit great, and I really like the second row recline. Plenty of knee clearance, plenty of head clearance. If you want to climb to the third row, getting back there is not so bad. You can flip the second row forward for easy access. And then once you're in the third row, you realize why you should put kids back there. It's not the tightest third row I've experienced, but the foot to butt ratio is a little unfavorable, so you sit very knees high. Headroom is a little bit tight, especially as you start to angle those seats back. But if you're kind of a shorter person, then you have a ton of lean angle available. So the third row could be comfortable depending on where you like your knees and if you don't have a long torso. By the way, I'm 5'10" with a long torso. I wonder how many times I've said that throughout my entire career.
Oh, man.
It's a weird request, but do you mind putting that on my gravestone? Micah Muzio, I'm 5'10" with a long torso. Talking about cargo space, the Highlander has 16 cubic feet available behind the third row, which means you can carry both people and their stuff. And then there's a little underfloor cargo area. And ours doesn't have a cargo cover, but in those that do, if you don't want the cargo cover installed, you can actually hide it underneath in that underfloor area. So if you want to haul larger loads, you might want to drop the third row. And what I have found is that if you do so quickly, the seat back has to be at a certain angle forward before the headrest will flip down. And if you flip it forward with speed, that headrest will hit the back of the second row, so it just kind of gets stuck there. And the other bit of weirdness is that if you want to lower the second row, you need to have 2 hands free. You have to pull the lever and then pull the other lever in order to flip that seat down. That's a little bit more complex than I would prefer. That said, if you lower both second and third rows, there's a lot of cargo space to work with. Kiddo, how is it getting into this car?
Pretty easy.
And do you feel comfortable sitting back there? Do you have a good view out?
Actually, a really good view.
Oh, really good view. And what about you, sweetie? Getting the child seat installed, any issues there?
No issues. The latch points are exposed and the door opening was adequate. I did notice that the third row only has top tethers, not latch points.
So if you want to install car seats in the third row, you'll have to actually put the seatbelt in rather than using the latch points, and that's pretty inconvenient, especially when you're in the third row. As for safety, the NHTSA has rated the Toyota Highlander 5 stars overall for impact, and the IIHS has rated it a top safety pick plus. In addition to that, it also comes with a robust suite of active driver assists, lane keeping assist, automatic emergency braking with pedestrian detection. The Highlander also includes full speed dynamic cruise control and 8 airbags. And there's also a handy little feature in the gauge cluster that shows you which seat belts have been secured. What do we think, family? Is the Toyota Highlander family friendly?
Family friendly.
Yes, it is family friendly. Rear window test.
All the way down.
All the way down. Boop. Armrest test. Okay, I'm gonna actually divide this up. Inboard, you have this rolling unit here, and you think this might be excessively hard, but it really isn't. So I'd go maybe 70% there. Outboard, there's no way my elbow can touch the outboard armrest with my hand anywhere near the steering wheel. If I just want to take my hand off the wheel, I can put it on and it's reasonably cush.
Use your long torso, baby.
But it's
lean over.
But I like keeping my hand on the wheel when I have my elbows on the armrest. I'm gonna go 30% for difficult accessibility on the outboard. Hey, would you like to see more videos like this where we review cars as a family? If so, feel free to subscribe. Style! Let me take a moment to thank the sponsor for today's video, Flying Eyes Sunglasses. I have dropped my Flying Eyes sunglasses and now they are in the recesses of the Toyota Highlander, but it's been retrieved. It's okay, everybody.
Woo! And thank goodness they're made of durable Resilimide.
That's true. They are very durable. I have sat on my glasses before and thought, well, I've just destroyed my glasses. No, my did not damage these things because Resilimide is resilient. It's like right there in the name. These are the Ospreys. I wear these when I want to feel sassy and when I'm outside of the helicopter oftentimes. And Sweetie's got her own glasses too. These are also Flying Eyes.
These are the ophthalmic line of Flying Eyes, and they come with these removable magnetic tinted lenses, so I can wear them as my everyday glasses. Wow. And sunglasses. Whether you're a pilot or somebody who can't quite manage the awkwardness of putting on glasses,
Flying Eyes might have the right eyewear for you. If you're ready to upgrade to aviation grade eyewear, click the link in the description below, use the promo code Micah, and save 10% on Flying Eyes. When the Toyota Highlander first came on the market in this generation a few years back, I was a little perplexed by the seemingly dented body line along the side. Time has helped me grow used to that, and I do appreciate the fact that unlike some SUVs, you can absolutely tell when you're looking at a Highlander in profile. Not every vehicle has a distinct profile. What do you think?
I'm getting major wagon vibes from this. I think because it's very low and wide, and I dig it. I like the way the metal curves around the fog lights in the front, and there's a lot of interesting lines on the back as well. It's distinct.
Most SUVs have been shifting to a more rugged aesthetic, and this is kind of one of the last, like, hey, we're sleek and we're cool and we're almost car-like, so that's interesting. I mentioned earlier that we're driving the Bronze edition. The wheels are bronze. The stitching inside here is bronze. There are bronze scuff plates on, near the front doors, and when they say scuff plates, man, they aren't kidding. We got it already quite scuffed. The Bronze edition is also the only Highlander where you can specify this cement paint hue.
That's an interesting combo. I just feel like another color might look better with bronze.
I like the cement hue and I like the bronze wheels. I don't know if I necessarily like them together, but it's nice that you've got options. What do you think? Do you like the look of the Toyota Highlander? If no, if so, tell us in the comments. If you're curious what we're doing between YouTube videos, you can always give us a follow over on Instagram, In Motion. The defining essence to me driving the Toyota Highlander around is inoffensiveness. It's not like particularly playful, but it absorbs bumps reasonably well as you drive over them. I kind of wish the damping were a little bit more firm to perhaps mitigate after bump body movements, but overall I think it drives fine. While it's not fun to steer, if you stick with it, it actually corners pretty quickly. If you are running late for ballet practice and you got some curves between you and the studio, this will get you there pretty quickly. We're driving the hybrid rendition of the Highlander, and the transitions between electric propulsion, gasoline propulsion, and a combination of the two are totally innocuous. You just don't really think about it. Where you might be aware of it is if you're, let's say, driving up a long grade, the kind of thing you have here in the mountains. And this has an electronic continuously variable transmission, and so, you know, if you need to make power, it'll just keep the gasoline engine at the peak power revs. So that's totally normal, and you'll get used to it. My only issue with the hybrid, and it's a minor issue, are the brakes. And let's see if I can come to a smooth stop. I believe I can, because even though it's kind of a wooden feeling pedal, There we go. Pretty smooth stop, right?
Yeah.
What I've noticed is that at modest brake pressure, the pedal is easy enough to work. Where it gets confusing is if you start braking hard, the braking intensity doesn't increase with linearity. And I'm using way too many words to describe, basically the pedal usually feels fine, but if you're braking hard, you might not get the exact amount of braking you're expecting. I'm bored of hearing me talk about brakes. Let's hear what Sweetie thinks. Evie's driving. How you feel driving this thing? Are you comfy?
I am comfy. It's not terribly exciting, which is sort of reassuring for someone like myself.
It's like the sleepy time tea of Sweetie cars.
One thing I do like is that the power from 0 to 35 seems good so that I can get out ahead of traffic on those blind turns.
That immediate off-the-line electric torque in this hybrid here really pays off.
Is this numb steering? Is this what you're always blathering on about when you mention that?
Yeah, like it doesn't feel like fun or engaging or whatever, but that's not really the purpose here. Does it feel heavy or light?
It feels rather light.
Pardon me. Light steering makes me sneeze. And then last question, how's your visibility?
Once I realized that I need to raise the seat, visibility got a lot better. I found myself leaning forward a lot at first. Over my left shoulder, it's a little bit close to this big B-pillar, so I have trouble seeing around it, but otherwise visibility is good.
Do you feel pretty comfortable driving this thing?
I do, yeah.
Sweetie's feeling comfortable. I'm getting back in the driver's seat. Overall, I think the Toyota Highlander is an agreeable driving SUV, and for the category, that's pretty good praise. Let me take a moment to thank everybody who supports us in all the varied ways, whether that's a like or a thumbs up, that's the same thing, and I'm being redundant again. People who support us on Patreon, thank you patrons, or even people who support us directly with the thanks button down below. However you support us in whatever way, we thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving onward to emotion factor. I think this is going to be a quick segment. Sweetie, what's the emotion factor here?
Bronze?
Bronze. Do you like bronze? Well, then you'll love the bronze edition of the Toyota Highlander. Beyond that, I don't think there's a ton of emotion to be derived from the driving experience. If there's an emotion factor to be had with the Toyota Highlander, it's the fact that it's a Toyota and you feel great about that purchase. Every brand has their advocates. Toyota in particular, the people who buy Toyotas feel awesome about buying Toyotas. There's an implied reliability, and it feels like a very sensible choice. If you're feeling emotionally drawn to buy a Toyota Highlander of your very own, I'm guessing you're going to need to sell your current car first. If you're curious how much you should get for your current car or how much you should pay for your next Toyota Highlander, click the Kelley Blue Book pricing link in the description below. Moving onward to remarks. Infotainment! We have the 8-inch screen in here. An 8-inch screen comes standard with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And after being in a few different Toyota and Lexus products as of late, it's interesting because we have the old system here. It still has a home button, and it's pretty rudimentary.
I do like this style of infotainment with physical buttons and knobs because I find it easy to operate without looking at it.
So it's a little bit old school, but still quite functional.
Yes.
One other way you can tell that this system is getting on in years just a little bit is the backup camera. So the resolution isn't quite as crisp as we've seen in other newer cars. Still totally workable. Just a little hint that yeah, it might be due for an upgrade. All right, we should talk about engine choices. As mentioned, the version we're driving is the hybrid. You got 243 combined horsepower and very good fuel economy, especially for a mid-size SUV. The other engine, which is the standard engine, is a 3.6 liter V6. Makes pretty good power and decent fuel economy, but certainly less efficient than the hybrid. And then, if you want all-wheel drive, that'll cost somewhere between $1,200 and $1,500, depending on trim. And in the gasoline version, you get dynamic torque vectoring all-wheel drive, which uses multi-plate clutches to send power between the left and right rear tires. Enhances agility, and it makes it a much more effective tool if you're driving on dirt. For the hybrid, it has a completely different all-wheel drive system that uses an electric motor to power the rear wheels. And then big news for 2023, the V6 I was talking about is gone. Toyota has replaced it with a 2.4 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. It makes less horsepower, but much more torque, and it can tow the same 5,000 pounds that the now departing V6 could tow. If you want to tow with your hybrid, it maxes out at 3,500 pounds. Oh, and there's also a price bump for 2023, somewhere between hundreds or more than $1,000. Sweetie,
Yes.
can I give you a trim recommendation?
Sure.
Our trim recommendation is based on which trim gives you the features you would regret not buying, but at the lowest possible price. I'm going to recommend the approximately $38,000 LE trim. That adds about $2,200 on top of the base L trim. So with the base L trim, you still get a ton of standard safety features, 5 USB ports, 3-zone automatic climate control, an 8-way power driver's seat. But the LE that I would recommend adds a power liftgate, blind spot warning, and my beloved smart key access. There are certainly more plush renditions of the Highlander that add a 360-degree camera system, leather, and a hands-free liftgate, but the LE trim has all the essentials. As for the competitive set, we're talking about mid-size SUVs like the Honda Pilot, Kia Telluride, or the Nissan Pathfinder. And if you're curious what we think about the Nissan Pathfinder, you can click right up here. Did we miss any remarks? If so, tell us in the comment section. Synopsis! In thinking about the essence of the Toyota Highlander, it's a simple, easy choice that isn't particularly exciting, but no one is going to give you crap about. To me, it is the black t-shirt of mid-size SUVs.
Hey, I know a little something about that.
Easy choices. Family, I think we've done a good job reviewing the Toyota Highlander. May I have a 5 and a 5? And you, come get your high five. Ah.